Hey everyone, today we're going to have a look at how to play the classic track Bastille Day by Alex Lifeson and Rush in its completion with its crazy Mixolydian solo, stemming from and the opening track from the band's brilliant yet seriously underappreciated 1975 album Caress of Steel. Musically, way ahead of its time, the lackluster album sales upon its release nearly cost the band their record contract unless they seriously turn things around with their follow-up album. Turns out the record-buying mid-70s hard rock public weren't ready for 20-minute long epic prog rock numbers like Side 2's The Fountain of Lamneth or the 12-minute long Necromancer from Side 1. As brilliant as it all was musically, it certainly looked like that shit wasn't going to fly, especially with their record company, but obviously with the record-buying public. Very few people bought the album. What to do if you're Rush? Well, for a band that 100% believed in what they were doing despite the awful record sales of Caress of Steel, they made a huge gamble, like a huge gamble. That gamble would be Caress of Steel's follow-up, 2112. More cohesive than Caress of Steel, yet pretty much more of the same, of which apparently killed the appeal and the sales of Caress of Steel, 20-minute long epics. This time, however, just a year later, the stars aligned, and it seemed that 20-minute long prog epics was something that people, a lot of people, all of a sudden wanted to hear. Thankfully, record contracts saved, and, well, the rest is history. Regardless, back to Caress of Steel. Now, despite the weak and somewhat of a throwaway track, I Think I'm Going Bald, it is, like I said, a brilliant yet misunderstood classic Rush album, opening with one of Rush's greatest early era tracks, the fantastic Bastille Day, the track that we're going to dig into right now and learn how to play. So let's close in here a little bit and have a look at Bastille Day by Rush. All right, Bastille Day. We are in standard tuning with this one. Got a nice little crunch on our amp. There's your opening riff. We start on the 3rd fret of the low E, and we're going to hammer on to 5. And you're going to hit that 5 times, first in a group of 2, then in a group of 3. And then you're going to repeat the whole thing 3 times. And then you're going to back it up to the 3rd fret, hit that 3 times, all alternate picking. Back to the 2nd fret, hit that twice, and once on the open low E string. So that's the pattern, 3, 2, 1. So repeat the first phrase 3 times. And then you repeat that whole thing 1 more time, and then you move the whole thing up 2 frets to 5 and 7. Play the exact same pattern, but now we're hammering on 5 to 7, and then the descending lick is 5 to 4 to 2. And it's 3, 2, 1. And then you repeat that whole phrase twice. So the whole opening riff. And then we move into the second half of the opening riff, which is just another cool riff. You know, it's one cool riff followed by another one. So we're starting with an E power chord. And you're going to hit that twice, kind of like a little down up. No, I hit it 2 downstrokes. And then an upstroke on a G power chord, down to a C, up to D, up to A, and back to D. E, G, C, So the first 4 of those up to the D, they're played nice and smoothly together with a nice flow. And then the last 2 are quite staccato. When you go up to A and back to D, they're very jumpy and staccato, kind of like this. Very jumpy. And then slide out of that D. So the first time you hit the open E power chord twice, and then this time 3 times before moving into the riff. So the first time twice, now 3. And that's the main riff that carries on throughout the first verse, and all of the verses actually. And at the end of the first verse, we're into the first chorus, and that goes something like this. So we're a 4-finger G chord with your 2 fingers down here on the 3rd fret of the B and the high E. Now you're going to release off the 3rd fret of the that G note there off to the G flat. And then back onto the G note at the 3rd fret. And then you're going to go open A, then onto the 2 of the A string, and then into a C shape, the whole time holding these notes down here on the B and the high E string. And then off to the 2nd fret of the A, you just basically reverse it. A power chord, and then back to G. Then back to A power chord, and then into a D chord. And then you're just going to strum that D chord a couple of times, maybe 7 or 8 times. Then back to G, repeat. G, A power chord, D. And then you stop the strumming on the D this time at about half the length that you did the first time. G. And then back into the main riff. And that leads into the 2nd verse, and then that leads into the 2nd chorus, which is more of the same of that. And at the end of the 2nd chorus, we're into this. Tune there. So you're into your G chord again, and you're just going to hit the G chord and then off to the 2nd fret of the low E. And then stop it. Move down to the C, do the exact same thing. And then you're going to jump up to a G power chord and move it up to an A power chord. And then down to a D power chord. You might want to catch a few more strings, like a 3 or 4 finger power chord here. And then back into this again. C, G, A, off to an open E power chord, or an E major chord. But just the top 2 or 3 strings really work. And then you're going to switch up to your neck pickup, and then we're into this section here. And so we're doing unison bends here, and so we've got our index on the 8th fret eighth fret of the B, and our ring finger up here on 10 of the G, and you're bending the G, but not the B. And you want to get, now you're going to get some dissonance when you're bending that. He doesn't get very much. He gets that right up to pitch, pretty much, with very little dissonance. So make that your goal, but it's kind of hard. You know, a little overbend, and all of a sudden you got that little bit of dissonance going. So you're going to bend that, and then back it up 1 fret. And then back up to the original position, and then move it back 3 frets. Now we've got our index on 5 of the B and our ring finger up here on 7 of the G. Now move it up 2 places, and then return. And then move it down here to, now we're on the 1st fret of the B and the 3rd fret of the G. We're just going to move it up 2 places, and then 2 places again. And then back to the original position here at the 8th fret of the B. Move it back 1. And then back to the original position. This time you're going to pick it twice. And then move it back 3 spots. Same as we did the first time. Move it up 2. Move it up 3. And then back to this again. 1, 3, 5. And then we're into this riff. That's just D power chord up to A power chord 3 times. With that kind of strumming pattern. So you do that 3 times, and then we're into the solo. All right, the solo. This is a bit of a chaotic, crazy solo in Mixolydian, and he's using a mode in this one, and he's not sticking within one key. He's following the chords underneath. So when the chord shift, he starts in A Mixolydian, and when the chord shift up to B, he follows it. And so know that. I'm going to show you the Mixolydian, and this entire solo takes place on 3 strings. So you really only have to concentrate on the Mixolydian on those 3 strings. I'm going to show you the whole thing anyway in A. That's the A Mixolydian. Now, the 3 strings we're using, the D, the G, and the B. And now we're going to move up, like I said, to B, and it's the exact same pattern in B. And near the end of the solo, he moves it down to G when he finishes up the solo. And again, same pattern. And so I'm going to run through this solo, and I'm not going to teach this solo note by note by note, by fret number by fret number. I would be here all afternoon because it's a very chaotic solo. I'm going to take each lick, each phrase of the solo. I'm going to break it down, slow it down, play it a few times at a nice relaxed pace, and you know the notes that we're using. We're not using any outside notes here outside of the Mixolydian. I think I mentioned earlier that we are using one outside note, and I was wrong. Every note is within this scale. When we're in that key. When we're in A, those are the only notes we're using, and when we move to B, likewise. So you know, it's going to be pretty easy to learn this solo that way without telling you every single fret number that we're on. So I'm going to run through the solo first at a nice relaxed pace, and then we'll have a look at how to play it. And that's pretty much the solo. So this is the first lick. On the B string, pulling off 8 to 7 to 5, all in one motion, and you're going to repeat that 3 times. And then you're going to grab the 8 of the B and give it a full step bend and add a little bit of vibrato when you get it up there. And then we're into this lick. Right up the mixolydian, starting with a triple hit on 8. Sorry, 4 times. And that's the lick. And this is the next lick. Starts with a slide into 9 of the D. A couple of double bends there on bend releases on the 11th fret of the G. Finishes with a pull off from 11 to 9 from the beginning. This just bends, 4 bends in groups of 2 on the 10th fret of the B with vibrato when you get them up there. Into this lick. Finishing with like a triple hit on 9 back to 8. But a heck of a lot faster. Now we're into the longest run of the whole solo. I'm going to try and break it into 2 halves. This is it. So now we're back into A mixolydian again. That's the first half. One more time. And this is the second half. Second half. Finishing off with a pull off from 9 to 7. The whole lick together. Now during the second half of that lick, when you get up to the 8 for the just before the pull off on the B string, you're going to hang on that 8 just a little bit longer and make the pull off a little bit faster. See if you can hear the difference between the 2 pull off, the 2 times, the first half and the second half. That's the first half. Hang, and then a faster pull off. And now we're into this lick. So we're on the 9 of the G, back it off to the 8 and give it a little half step bend. And back to the natural note. And then we're into this. More of those, you know, those now back in B, more of those little pull-offs, the little triplet pull-offs. And then the final lick, back in G now. And that's that phrase. Finish up with a trill on the 7th fret of the G to open G. And that's the end of the solo, and that's a fun solo to play, and it's fun to dabble in Mixolydian. I never played Mixolydian. It's more of a jazz blues type of scale, and but it works in this one. It works in this solo. I'm gonna play through it one more time at a nice relaxed pace. And that's the end of the solo, and then we're back into the main riff. For a third verse, and then a third chorus. At the end of the third chorus, we're back into this again. And then again. Back to D this time instead of going to the open E, and then back into this again. You repeat that 3 times, D to A. And then he does this neat little descending lick. So he's going to a G, basically just the top 3 strings, G power chord. And then the first time he goes down the E, the A, and the D string, and then he moves his index finger down to the 2, and then open E, and then back into and then he moves the whole thing up 2 spots. And this part's tricky because you got to get down there to the 2nd fret of the low E, and then right back up here to this to the E power chord. And then it finishes up with this. So we're going 4 to 5, 4 to 5 of the A, onto the open E, and then 4 to 5 of the low E, and then a double hit on the 5. Repeat. And then you repeat that, and then you move it up 2 places. Still hitting the open E. Move it up 1 place. Then slide out of that one. And then we repeat the chorus without singing and at a bit more of a relaxed pace. And this is the very end of the song, so he's going to go from G to D. And then he's going to go from G back to D for a double hit, and then back to G. And that's the end of the song. Well, I hope you enjoyed that, and I hope that helped you out. Were you looking to learn this great classic Rush track? Hope you're well out there in your little guitar corner of the world, and we'll see you next time. Take care of yourselves. Cheers.